All right, you guys. All right, so thank you guys for attending Elevate Mastermind. We are so excited to have you guys here. As people keep chiming in, we're going to quickly introduce Loida. So Loida is a licensed realtor in California and Florida. She built her business through the old school approach of cold calling and door knocking expireds and for sale by owners, and has documented her journey on YouTube, where she has reached over 90,000 subscribers and 5 million views, teaching agents how to succeed in this business. As a real estate agent and content creator, Loida has partnered with some incredible brands in the real estate, and most importantly, has helped a ton of agents bring their real estate business game to the next level. All right, you guys. So who is excited to pick her brain and really like dive into how she's, grown her real estate business? She went from, was it LA?
Yeah.
LA to Florida and still killing it and helping a ton of other realtors, grow their business. I'm like super stoked to have you here, and I'm sure all these guys are too.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, everyone that's here. There's some familiar faces, but I know when you reached out to me, Rose, I was really excited because I love to share kind of my journey. A lot of agents have seen me on YouTube. Steven was sharing earlier how he saw my cold calling videos. Rose, you were like, I'm not making calls, but I'll do videos. So, I mean, for me, the way that it all started, and that's kind of how I want to begin, because I want to take you back to before I got into real estate. So my experience was in marketing and advertising. I did that for about 8 years. Real estate was never a thought in my mind. I knew agents called and door knocked, and to me, I was like, man, that is embarrassing. I am never going to do that in my life. Like rejection, how can you deal with that? So the fact that I became very good at that, it even surprises me. But when I got into the business, just like Steven was mentioning earlier, I knew about calling and door knocking, but I was like, well, what do you say, or what is it like? So I went on YouTube and I wasn't finding any content. So then that's when I saw that as an opportunity for me to start, documenting my journey, just to share what I was learning, how I was learning, how bad I was. You guys can go back to my very first cold calling videos and you're like, man, this girl, she's horrible. And maybe some of you are like, I sound exactly like that. But for me, I said, you know what? People are going to make fun of me. They're going to laugh at me, but over time, you're going to be able to see kind of the transformation and how I'm getting better. And that's exactly what I did. I knew that real estate would allow me to live the life that I wanted to live. Even though I loved marketing and advertising, I worked with some big high profile clients. I felt that I was being overworked and underpaid. And I worked in very negative environments with very negative people that I'm like, as much as I love this, my sanity is more important to me. So when I saw the opportunity of getting into real estate, I said, you know what, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And there's no point in reinventing the wheel, because obviously there are so many agents that have been successful. So I just have to do what they did, whether I liked it or not. You tell me I got to pick up the phone and role play and talk to people. Okay. I may not know what to say, and people are going to say, hey, Loida, you sound like a robot. But how can I get so good that people don't tell me that anymore? Role playing. Okay, role playing. Initially, I thought that role playing was really corny. I'm like, I know what to say. I have a script here. Like, why do I need a role play? And until I started doing it consistently, I started to realize how I was becoming more confident on the phone, and people would not realize that what I was saying was pretty much a script. So little things like that, I started to incorporate in my business. So my YouTube channel, initially when I started that, it was never with the intention of, I want to grow a YouTube channel and get business from it. For me, I mean, I was so clueless. I was just like, let me just record my journey and put it out there. And surprisingly, agents started to relate to it. And they're like, hey, I like this girl. She's just like me. She sounds like me. She's pretty horrible, just like me. And over time, you see me getting better and better. And my goal with YouTube was to put out one video every single week. I didn't know when I was going to put it out. I had no idea about tags or YouTube algorithm or thumbnails or anything like that. I said, you know what, I'm just going to be consistent. And if there's one thing that you probably have heard it so many times, consistency is key in whatever it is you do. Making calls, following up with those leads that tell you they want to do something and they're like, oh, call me back, whatever it is. So I was being consistent. I was putting out a video every single week. My intention was not, oh, I want to hit 1 million views or get 100,000 subscribers. It was just, let me show up because apparently agents like what I'm putting out and they're learning something. So if I could help at least one agent with a tip that helped me or that I learned, then that makes me happy. And at the same time, I'm still doing what I'm doing. So for me, when I started my real estate career, I knew that I wanted to focus on listings. So I went after the expireds and for sale by owners because they were the low-hanging fruit. I knew that a lot of agents were scared to call them because, if you call them, these are not the most pleasant people out there that you probably want to deal with. They're probably getting a lot of calls from agents. They probably had bad experiences. So I told myself, I need to be so good that when I'm calling these people, it's not going to affect me emotionally, but they're going to quickly realize that I'm not just like every other agent that's calling them. So how am I going to do that? I need to know exactly. And this happens because I started making the calls. I became very familiar with the responses. Oh, well, where were you when my home was on the market? Or you're the 10th million agent or whatever it is. So I said, okay, I need to come up with objection handlers and pattern interrupts so that as soon as I hear them say something, I know exactly what to respond. And when I respond, you have to be like cool, calm, and collected so that they don't sense that you're nervous. And again, over time, it was role playing. So I was role playing every single day for 2 hours a day. I was role playing before I started my calls. I would start my calls at 8 o'clock with the new expireds, then the new for sale by owners. And as much as I was scared to do it, I knew that these people wanted to sell. And I knew that there were other agents that were not putting in the work of role playing and practicing. So as long as I could maintain a conversation, this was already going to help me stand out versus everybody else that was calling. So I would call, I would get so many no's. I would get people that were upset, that had bad experiences, but I knew that at the end of the day, there were still homeowners that needed to sell. And if I was the one that was sitting on the phone the longest and asking questions, then the possibility of me setting an appointment was going to be very high. So something that I quickly learned is that I needed to be a good listener, because sometimes we're so focused on the questions that we need to ask to pre-qualify them, to see if they're serious, that we don't listen to what their concerns are. So whether you're working with a buyer or a seller, it's important to understand that we're problem solvers. And at the end of the day, there's going to be people that we just can't help. I don't know about you, but there's so many times that there's been buyers and sellers that once the transaction closed, I'm like, I wish I would have never taken that client because I would have slept so much better. I would have had so much time back. But that's how we learn. And we have to know to have standards and boundaries for the type of clients that we're willing to work with, right? And so these are things that I learned over time. So again, as I'm making my calls, I'm working on my YouTube channel, and my YouTube videos, it was kind of like a hobby in the beginning. But because I was being so consistent, I think after the first year, I got like 1,000 subscribers. Back then, there were not a lot of content creators in like the real estate space. So as long as you're being consistent and putting out content, I think that's what helped me pretty much grow. And at the same time, specifically, I wanted to put out content because I wasn't finding a lot of women talking about their experience or talking about sales or making calls. It was a lot of men, a lot of older men, a lot of coaches that I couldn't go back and see their journey from when they started. It was just like they started and, hey, do this, this, and that. Versus with me, you can go back, 8 years ago and see Loida from 2015 and Loida now, and it's like a completely different person. But I worked on my communication, on my listening, on my role playing, on just being more confident in front of a camera. If you guys have created content, and I think hopefully a lot of you here have, In the beginning, it's tough, you know how to say your name. And then after that, you kind of forget what you're going to say. And then you got to start over. And then you're like, oh man, my hair, I did everything great, but my hair was like messed up. But what I learned is that because I was doing this content, that helped me with my clients too, with my communication. So it's like I'm killing two birds with one stone. And these are all things that over time is things that I just learned. I knew that I needed to be consistent and dedicated and disciplined. And as I created more content, I started to realize that this could now be taken as an advantage, especially with my clients. So if I were meeting with a buyer or a seller, I could now include my social media on there. Hey, you know what? Check me out on YouTube. I put out content for agents, but you can see what I'm doing. And over time, what ended up happening is that as I would send that, especially with sellers, when I would get to a listing appointment, they would pretty much be ready to just hire me. They were like, you know what, we've been watching your videos. We know you're the real deal and you know what you're doing. So just go ahead and let's go over the paperwork and we're ready to go. So I started to handle less objections. So less objections with clients. The credibility, was much better. They're now referring me business. At the same time, I started to get a lot of agent-to-agent referrals. So agents that were watching me knew that I was in California at that time. So if they had a client, they would send it out to me. So now my business started to grow, not just through my efforts in prospecting, but also social media. And again, it was just being consistent and having the goal that I needed to hit a certain amount of contacts for me making calls, a certain amount of conversations every single day. And then on the social media side, I knew that I needed to be putting out at least one video every single week, just to make sure that people knew, okay, Loida's a real estate agent. And also Loida is making those calls, trying to get some listing appointments. Now, from everything that I've just mentioned so far, do any of you have any questions or any, I don't know, anything that comes to mind? I don't know, Rose or just anyone, you can go ahead and speak up. Yes.
I have a question. How many contacts were you getting daily? Or how many conversations were you aiming for?
For 30.
30 a day.
30 a day, yes. So I would start at 8 o'clock and then I would go until I would hit 30.
And how many appointments was that weekly?
Weekly, it would be maybe like 2 to 3 appointments. Yeah.
Okay.
So my goal, so I would go after the expires and then for sale by owners. Then I would do some circle prospecting in the afternoons. After like 2 or 3 o'clock, I would get back on the phones. And my goal every day was to talk to at least 30 people. I remember one day I was so crazy. I was like, I'm going to hit 100 today. And I hit 100 conversations in one day. I started at 8 and I think my 100th person was like at 8:45. But I was so determined. And I ended up setting an appointment that day.
Nice.
Hey, Loida, I have a question. This is Vino.
Yes.
So when you say every day touching base with 30 people, like where do you get lists from? Like, are you calling random people? Are you circle prospecting? How does
Yeah, so I would have a service. So for example, like Vulcan 7 that gives you expires and for sale by owners and has a dialer. So I would get my data from like one of those services. So then I would just dial through all of the numbers that I could get. And then whoever didn't answer, probably the next day I would try them again. But that was pretty much my routine.
Did you randomly like go out and talk to people too? Like, I hear a lot of people who are actually, I think we have someone here, Naveed, who just randomly talks to people out in public.
Me personally, I think it depends where I was, but even growing up, I'm not like a super, hey, I'm going to go talk to everybody. I'm more like the behind the scenes person that I like to, if I'm at an event, you'll see me kind of in the back scoping the room. So it's funny because now I'm doing videos and I'm completely opposite. I would talk to strangers if I went out door knocking. And the way that I did that is that I would pick out a property that was just listed or just sold and door knock around there. And what I would tell myself is, hey, if they don't like me, never going to see them again in my life. And that was the same thing that I told myself on the phone. If they hang up on me, if they yell at me, I don't know what they look like. They don't know what I look like. So why should I even let it bother me? And I printed out a list of all of the pros of making calls, and I would see it every single day when I was making my phone calls. And that was kind of like a motivator for me as well to just keep on going, because just one call could be a $10,000-$15,000 paycheck. And if I'm not making a call, there's going to be some other person that's making the call and getting that paycheck.
For sure. Sarah, did you have a question?
I did. Hi, my name is Sarah. So nice to meet you. So I am at the very beginning, like step one, where my husband and I just decided that this is something that we want to embark on, and that's to get my real estate license. So I'm really grateful to Steve and Rose for inviting me today so I can hear where you started. I think that's exciting. But
Sister,
for
by the way. I was saying this is Stephen's sister to everybody.
Oh, hey. So I just wanted to ask you, for someone as myself where I'm at right now, should I start making content? Or haven't even gotten my license yet. So we're in the very first phase of this. What is your advice for someone like where I'm at?
Making content, like real estate related content, or just putting yourself out there?
Just putting myself out there.
I think the sooner you start doing it, the better, so you can get comfortable. Because so when I started my YouTube channel, so I got my license in May of 2015, but from December of the previous year, I was already learning my scripts, what to say.
Okay.
I was already shadowing other agents, door knocking with them. Even if I was just like standing there, I'm like, okay, so this is what you say, this is how it goes. Okay. So then by the time I got my license, I was like, okay, I'm ready to rock and roll. I might be rusty, but I'm ahead of the game now, because I know, especially in California, and I assume that's where you're at, right?
Yes.
It took forever to get my license because of the paperwork and the state. So, I mean, the more you can get ahead, the better. And then, content, especially nowadays, everyone's on their phone. If you can get comfortable with at least recording yourself or whatever it is, even if you're doing like stories, it's gonna help you.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Loida, what do you use, or where do you get scripts from?
Scripts?
Yeah.
Okay. Scripts, there's a lot of different ones out there. The one that I learned was from Kevin Ward. There's also Mike Ferry. I think whichever scripts that you pick or that you find, they're all different styles. For me, the Mike Ferry was very like straightforward, kind of salesy. Kevin Ward was a little bit more nicer, conversational. I know that Tom Ferry has some scripts too, and there's a lot of free scripts out there. But yeah, I think as long as you pick some scripts that are no fluff or BS or lie and deceive people, that's what you want to focus on and have.
Hey, Loida.
Yes.
When it comes to scripts, like I haven't really studied scripts too much, but the few times I've had, I feel like they're really scripty, right? And I think that's natural. I think the more you do it, it's gonna be more natural and seem more natural. Do you recommend sticking to the script or changing a few things up to match your style?
Yeah, I would say the script is pretty much just a guide. Once you know the questions and kind of like the sequence of how those questions are asked, then I would totally change it to your style or to how you speak. And then that's how it's going to sound more conversational. So the scripts, I have them internalized, all of them in my head. But now if you and I sat in a room, you would never think that I'm telling you a script. You would think that we're just, hey, I'm just chatting with Loida and she's asking me about my home, but I'm getting all my questions answered. So the goal is just to know every single question or what the intention of what you need to have answered is. So once you're meeting with a client, it could be like, the Steven style, and it's going to sound more natural too.
Questions.
So when you pick, you said you pick a listing and then circle dial and maybe door knock and let them know about the listing. So can you kind of explain that approach more? So if I don't have a listing in an area, I'm going to pick someone else's listing, and kind of how do you go about doing that? Wire, whatever you do, what days
Also, to add on Steven's question, can you talk about how many dials do you make when you get that listing, or promote somebody else's listing?
Okay, yeah. So there's different ways to pick that property. Let's say if I'm gonna go hit the doors, I could either pick a property that was just listed, that just sold, or maybe just like I don't know, if I'm looking for a property for a buyer, if they're like, hey, Loida, we want to buy in this specific neighborhood, then I'll be like, okay, let me go out and hit those doors and see if I can find something off market. The information that I want to make sure that I have for whether it's a just listed or just sold is the price, the days on market, just the basic, bedrooms, bathrooms. If the property was if it just sold, I want to take note of if it sold above asking price or how much more above asking price, how long it took. And I know that if it sold above asking price in a short period, chances are they probably got multiple offers. So when I'm going around, I'll look at where that home was, and then I'll just start door knocking all around that in the streets. And I'll usually go for like maybe 2.5 hours. I would do that from maybe 8:30 to around 11, or you could do that in the afternoon, whatever time, it doesn't matter. As long as you're consistently doing it, just pick a time and do it. And yeah, it would just be conversations like, hey, Steven, or not even, hey, Steven, because I wouldn't know their name. So I would knock on the door and I would just say, hey, I'm Loida, really quick local agent. I was stopping by because your neighbor down the street on 123 Main, they recently sold 10,000 above asking price. The home sold in 2 days for 450. Did you know that? Oh, no, we didn't know. Yeah. So, since the home sold so quickly, there's probably still a lot of families that are looking to move into this neighborhood. So just wanted to see if you guys might know of anyone that's thinking about moving out or moving here. And remember, it's like pauses. There's a lot of tonality involved when you're having these conversations. You have to let them speak. And then depending what they say, oh, well, how about you? Any plans for you guys to make a move in the future? And as long like body language and you smiling will make you have good conversations at the doors. So that's usually how my conversations would go. And if I would have good conversations, even if they didn't want to buy or sell, I would make sure to exchange information. So let's say I was talking to Stevie and I would say, before I let you go, I would love to exchange information in case you ever have any real estate need. Maybe you need a plumber or a termite person. Do you have any go-to agent that would be able to help you out? Oh, no, I don't. Okay, well, you know what? Let me shoot you a quick text. What's your number? 323. And I would already have my number, my phone, looking down, and then they finish the phone number for you. And then I would just text them a picture of my business card. So now I add them to my database. So now every month I could just make my rounds of calling. Hey, Steven, this is Loida, the realtor. Remember we spoke when I stopped by? How's it going? Have you heard of anybody recently that I might be able to help? I have a goal to help 5 more families before the year's over. Oh, no, you don't? Okay. Well, how are the kids? I know that little Jimmy was running around the last time we were there. And then that's just kind of how I take the conversations. It sounds very natural. And at the same time, if they're not looking to buy or sell, I still want to gather their information because I had a good conversation and I want to make sure that I'm at the top of their mind should they hear anything real estate related.
Byron?
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, I am starstruck right now. Okay, I just want to put that out there. I'm a big fan. I absorb so much content, and back in the days, I'm like, oh, she's from California. I think you're from LA, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I'm from LA, the 818, 310.
Oh my gosh, that video that you made, Loida.
So just want to get that off the table there and say that thank you for taking the time. One of the things that came up is I was wondering if you've tried the same approach, just doing circle prospecting, like calling around that new listing or that just sold using different tools like RPR or Volcom or Mojo or whatever to pull the neighborhood's information. Have you done that yet?
When you say pull that neighborhood information, are you talking about any like specific data?
Yeah, like for instance, because as you were talking, I thought, oh yeah, that's brilliant. And then I thought there's a tool that I use. It's called RPR. You're probably familiar with it. And then you can cross-reference like ownership, who owns it, and pull numbers. Have you done that where you've like made a segment or a digital farm more or less, really is what I'm asking. Have you tried doing it that way?
Yeah, I have. And I've also connected, I know that certain title reps, I know one that I work with, he was also able to pull that type of information as well. That was really helpful if, for example, I was working with a buyer that wanted a specific type of property, whether it was a certain square footage or area. But yeah, I think that's a great way to also kind of narrow down different pockets if you want to hit it.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes.
I have a question. Going back to your first year in real estate, what would be something that you would have done more or would have done that you didn't do?
Um, I would say really was my mindset. My mindset my first year. Because there were many times that I wanted to give up and I started being very negative on myself. I knew what to do. And, you watching me here, you probably been to a lot of trainings where they say, make sure you have a disciplined schedule, which, yeah, the basics, have a schedule, be disciplined, role play, have at least 3 or 4 different lead sources to go after. If you can, get a coach that can help you as well. But aside from that, a lot of it is going to be in your mind and your mindset, because you're going to want to give up when you're putting in the work and nothing's happening. And I remember it was like 5 or 6 months in, and I was getting very good on the phone, but I started to compare myself to other agents that had been in the business for longer. And then I started to think, oh, well, how is that agent getting that listing if I'm so much better and I'm making more calls? And then you start putting yourself like in you think that you're in the same category when you're not. And what really made it for me is that I had to realize that even though, I was completely different from them, I had to see all of the progress that I had done. I knew now my scripts, I knew objection handlers, and I knew if I was putting in the work, then eventually I would see the results. And I can tell you, and this was my experience, and maybe some of you have gone through it, when you're negative on yourself, it's like you attract negative people. And I was attracting all of the horrible clients. And I'm like, man, like, what is this? It's like a nightmare. But I said, you know what? I deserve clients. They're going to appreciate me, that love to work with me, that want to buy, that have to sell, that are going to be, super easy transitions from whatever it is that they want to do. And these were kind of like affirmations that I was writing down every single morning. Before I would make my calls, I would write down those affirmations. I'm setting one listing appointment today. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe I didn't set a listing appointment that week, but my intention was there, and I would write it every single morning. Even if I was feeling negative, or if I was feeling like, man, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to wake up and make calls, writing those down and having them printed in front of me really helped me with my mindset. Because yeah, I mean, you're going to see people come and go. There's probably people that got into the business when you got your license that are probably out of the business or going to get out of the business. But what's going to separate you from them is, your determination, your commitment, you surrounding yourself with the right people, which you being here is the right people, because we're all striving to be better and succeeding. And you can't let negativity or others bring you down. Your circle is really going to affect you. Maybe it's going to be family or friends that are like, oh, you're still trying. How's that real estate thing going? How many homes did you sell this month? I remember I would tell my mom that people would ask me, how many homes did I sell last month? And she's so funny. She would be like, well, what do they think you're selling? Tomatoes? Like, that's not how it works in real estate. But yeah, that's what I would say. Focus on your mindset. Make sure that you have a very disciplined schedule and routine, and just stick to your commitments.
Loida, I'm going to be vulnerable. Maybe I want you to answer this. Do you still feel the same way that I'm going to mention? When I'm on, I'm on. When I'm off, I'm off. In the beginning, first year was the hardest. What am I doing? I was working with Rose, and she has so much more. She has a lot of experience, right? And I just comparing myself to her, I just always felt like a failure. I always felt like I'm never going to be able to learn this. You know, it's pretty basic. I come from a construction background, and just to switch over to even doing emails was new to me, right? And so over time of just sticking with it and having little wins and staying a little bit busy, confidence came. And then I was being more part of the team, confidence would come. And the busier I am, the better the mindset. I'm realizing, oh, I can do this. And then there'd be slow moments and I'd start thinking, getting in my head again, right? And so even to this day, my mindset's a lot better than the first year, but let's face it, it's not always on. And do you still struggle with mindset? Or if not, why do you think you don't? What's giving you the confidence and the energy to stay positive all the time? Or do you struggle with mindset, and what do you do, you know, when that happens?
Yeah, no, I think I can definitely relate to everything that you just mentioned right now. And I mean, I'd be lying if I say, oh yeah, you know, I'm positive all the time, because it's not true. Sometimes we get in our own head, but I think the key is to realize when that's happening, when that doubt is happening, and it's like, okay, you know, I got to cut it out because I'm so much better than this. I know what it takes to succeed. You've already done it. You've done it for years. So I make sure that I don't give it attention or let my mind wander, because now it's like, oh, well, maybe I'm not good enough. Or maybe what if I'm getting worse? Or, oh, now you start comparing yourself to others. Oh, well, Rose is doing so much better than me. And it's like, no, you know, we're all different. I'm going to handle that thought that's coming into my mind. It's like, I don't have room. I don't have time to think negatively or doubt myself. Let's focus on, you know, okay, what's it going to take for me to get back to work, to put more deals together? Do I need to get back on track? Maybe it involves me picking up a book and reading, making sure that my mindset is back and right again. So I've been very good at reading, feeding my brain, not watching, you know, garbage or things that are not going to fulfill me mentally. Seeing what others are doing that are successful, because like I mentioned earlier, there's no point in reinventing the wheel. And just knowing that, you know, you're not going to be perfect and on all the time. It's just like cycles. But the whole point is to continue moving forward and not kind of like let it affect you to the point that now you start like slacking or doubting yourself, and then things start going downhill from there.
And then also, when I'm on, I'm on. And then if I'm off, I don't want to do challenging things. I do get in my head, and I realize that when you overcome that comes confidence, like you're good, just push through, push through. Now you're on a level where I've seen you speak in front of hundreds of people. I'm sure you speak pretty often. Does that fulfill you? Are you a natural speaker? Do you ever have doubts and not want to go on? And what drives you to keep going? And speak about, like, if you had fear, like how'd you get over that to speak in front of so many people, so many faces watching you, people that have been
Yeah.
in the business a lot longer than you, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that you're bringing that up, because look, when I was little, when I was younger, elementary school, middle school, high school, even in college, I was the type of student that I would sit all the way in the back. If the teacher wanted to volunteer, I would make sure to put my head down to make sure no eye contact. I do not want to be called on. If there were any group projects or like presentations, I would be the last one to go up, just because I was very shy. I was terrified of public speaking or being in front of people because of what you just said. It's like so many eyeballs on you. If you mess up, if you say something wrong, in my head, I'm like, oh, they're going to laugh at me and they're going to think I'm a clown. So the fact that I now get invited to speak in front of hundreds of people, if you would have told me that when I was growing up, I would have said, you know, that's crazy. Like, I'm never going to do that. Even before I got into real estate, I never saw myself that way. And I think for me, what made the shift in my mind was, as I was putting out content and helping agents, I said, you know, I got to put my fear on the side, because at the end of the day, if I don't get on that stage, maybe, you know, Helen is not going to be able to know that line to say that's going to help her get that deal. And for me, it was more of helping others versus, oh, well, what are people going to think about me? Or like, oh, I'm not good enough. And it was just kind of like, you suck it up. Like, Loida, stop being a little sissy and just get up there. People need to hear your message. And if you mess up, that's fine. If you do great, great. But at the end of the day, you know, you just got to go and do it. I love Wonder Woman. If you guys saw me, you've seen that I always have Wonder Woman somewhere. And one of the reasons that I love Wonder Woman, and I have like a big cardboard. I don't know if you can see it, but she's actually like right here, like a life size. But I have it because I'm like, okay, I remember when I first watched the movie and she was a badass. And I'm like, man, Wonder Woman's a badass. So I have her in back of me. I have this frame and I'm like, okay, would she be scared of making phone calls? No, she'll be like, just suck it up, pick up that phone call, make that call and set that appointment. So that's kind of like the mentality that I have. So when I get on these stages, yeah, there's people that do like a million times better than me and make so much more money. And what's funny is that maybe a lot of them will never even have the courage to be on a stage. And for me, it was like, could I picture myself talking in front of people, motivating, sharing my message and my story and my testimony because it might impact them to be better people and have a more successful career? If the answer is yes, then yes, I'm going to do it. And for me, Spanish was my very first language. I learned English, I think, when I was like in second or third grade. So when I first started to get invited to speak on stages and even creating content on YouTube, sometimes I would talk really fast, or I would stumble on some words, or I would mess up some words, or sometimes my S's didn't sound correct. And, you know, over time, I'm like, you know what, if I mess up, whatever, it's going to happen. But at least people will see that I'm a real person. I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not. You get what you get. This is me. And if you like it, great. If not, then don't watch me.
Yeah. And, you know, like when you talk about, you know, perfection and stuff, I know when I first started doing video, and I know a lot of you guys also had this challenge, but trying to do your first video, like literally took me an hour and a half to do like a 30-second video, because like you said, I'm like, oh, my hair looks funny, or I didn't say that right. And I said, and like, and all this stuff. What are your thoughts on like perfecting the video? And I know I try to nowadays, and me and Steven kind of like go at it, but I'm like, that was fine. Let's just do the first take. If we mess up, it's okay, because that's who we are. Like, we don't want to like make it too perfect. What is your thoughts on that, and like the balance of like, you know, allowing some mistakes, but then also trying to make it so it's not like a shit show?
Yeah. Well, I think when you film it, you know, if it's something that you got to redo. But for me, even now, I try not to focus on the video being so perfect, because sometimes what's more important is the message or what you're trying to convey to the viewer. And when I started doing my videos, I remember I would talk really fast and I was always very serious. And something that I learned to do is like, I think someone told me, they're like, Loida, you need to watch your videos, because that's how you're going to know what you need to work on to get better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cringe, watching myself and hearing myself. But I started to do that. And I started to do that too, because people were leaving me comments saying, oh, Loida, you're talking too fast. Or, oh, I could hear the AC fan in the background. And I'm like, you're focusing on that instead of the awesome open house tip that I gave in that video. So once I started to see that, I was like, okay, you know, I need to work on a few things myself. That way I'm not getting those comments. But yeah, in terms of perfecting the video, sometimes you just need to put it out. And yeah, there's going to be some edits. I doubt it's going to be horrible, because especially for you, Rose, you guys have already been doing videos. But if you are starting out with creating videos, or maybe you're being consistent, I know there's a lot of you that probably have created content that you have on your phone that you haven't posted it because of some dumb reason. And I hear this all the time. I have ladies who are like, oh, you know, I have all these videos, but I'm scared to put them out. And I'm like, why?
I met one of your girls that Play Bigger. I can't remember her name, but she said the same thing. She has like a ton of content, but she won't post them. And so I saw her in the bathroom, like, I better see that.
Exactly. Yes. And then some of these girls, I'm like, post it tonight and tag me. And when they do, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the video. It's like all in your head. So yeah, sometimes you know, the content that you're going to record, it might require some editing here and there. But as long as you're putting it out, you're going to continue to get better every single video. And it's not like we're creating a movie. At the end of the day, just like you said, Rose, you know, people will see that you're natural, you mess up, and it is what it is. Like, I'm not perfect all the time. You're going to hear me stumble and like stutter on some words. But the great thing is that I'm going to keep on going. And maybe in another video, you'll hear me say, hey, you know, I'm a little nervous. And this is completely fine too. If you're doing a video, hey, I'm a little nervous. So if you hear something, you know, just keep on watching, because I got a lot of awesome information for you, whatever that is. And people are not going to care. Sometimes we think that people are going to judge us, but no, they don't even care. They probably won't even notice some things.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people when they ask like questions about like doing video and how they hate looking at themselves and stuff, and I'm like, just like how you talked about like being on stage, it's like people who are watching you are looking for the value that you give them. They're not looking at your hair or your eye makeup or whatever. It's more like, you know, who can you help today? So I love that you think of it that way as well when you're public speaking, because obviously like we all are big fans of yours and you've given so much value to everybody here. I know that they all showed up because they know of you. And so I think that's amazing that you are able to like look at something that scares you, but look at it of a place of how can I give value to other people and grow others. Super.
Yeah, exactly. And
Byron.
to add on to that, actually, Rose, I would tell each and every single one of you, you are all capable of speaking on stages, because you have a message that probably others need to hear. Maybe it's not even real estate related. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's about life. But you also have to see yourself as that person that can speak and can talk to a room, because we all have it within ourselves, but we also have to believe in ourselves that we are deserving and that we can be in that position.
Yeah, for sure. I know Byron had his hands up.
I am so interested in your perspective on the industry. Where do you think it's all going with all the things kind of happening right now, and big lawsuits and settlements and tech and this and that? I'd love to hear your foresight.
Yeah. I mean, with real estate, it's crazy. Sometimes everything that we see happening, so many different opinions, that lawsuit, Remax, I mean, I've been hearing it all. I think at the end of the day, our goal, or as an agent, if I'm focusing on specifically, for example, listings, because I've been hearing so much, oh, well, buyers agents are not going to be able to get, you know, their fees. I say, you know, okay, then making sure that our skills are on point to be able to help our clients, to be able to be leaders in the industry so that our peers know exactly what to do. When I got into real estate, something that I always wanted to make sure is that whether it was clients or other agents knew that if you work with me, I know what I'm doing. You're not going to have any headaches or any problems. I've dealt with all that many different times in transactions. So just making sure that we're continuing to stay educated, and then also educating our clients too, because many times they're going to be freaking out with what they see on the news. A lot of agents are freaking out too. They're like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to be out of business, or Zillow's going to take me out. Look, if that was the case, we would already be gone. So it's just
Loida, what
Yes.
you focus on expands. The more you focus on the clients who are not going to give you your commission, the more you're going to find them. So focus
Exactly.
on the buyers who are willing to pay their realtor commissions.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? Anything on YouTube? I know a few of you guys are starting your YouTube channels or want to. Do you guys? Oh, Naveed's child has a question.
Yes, so we actually do have a question. So I know how you mentioned that you really target a lot of FSBOs and a lot of expires. So a handful of times, the main objection that I get from people is, don't call me, lose my number, take me off your list. How do you handle an objection like that?
Well, if it's someone that tells me that, I I think depending on the tone of their voice, I know that that's probably not someone that I want to continue a conversation with anyway, because that's not really an objection. It's just more how someone responds. If I can get it out, like let's say in the conversation, I would say, okay, well, Naveed, really quick, did you sell the house or is it still available? And then if they answer that question, then I can see if they'll keep going. But if they're like, no, stop calling me, lose my number, go hide under a rock, and I'm like, okay, this person, like, I'm gonna pass. There's other people that I could spend my energy on versus this one that's gonna be like that to me. Yeah, that's the way that I see it.
So it sounds like a numbers game. The more contacts, the more calls, eventually things are going to happen. I'm not a caller. I called a couple times and I want to do it more. It's just to get in that routine, I need to, I think, do it a little bit more to where it becomes part of my daily norm. That being said, when I'm having a conversation, I don't have a script, but my goal is to get them to, I don't know if you've heard of High Note, Loida, but
Oh yeah.
it's okay, so we have a High Note and my goal is to email that to them. Why? Because I'm not scripted. I'm probably, the more I talk, if it's not natural, they're going to see that I'm, maybe speaking too fast, like you were saying. So if they say, how'd you get my number? I don't want to talk. My goal is to be like, yeah, I understand you're probably getting a lot of calls. How about this? Let me send you just a little bit of my information. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me. Is that fair? Sure. Okay, what's your email address? I want them to see the high note, because once they see the high note, I get to see what they're looking at. I could put an intro video. Hey, it's very nice talking to you. Underneath, you'll see our reviews. You'll also see, click on a video, you see how we market a house. And I see if they're looking at that, right? And with that, I could call them like, hey, did you get that high note? Let's talk a little bit more. So maybe Naveed, that helps. And it kind of helped with me in the short time I was calling. And maybe Loida, what do you think about that?
When you're doing that, is it to like for sale
That
by
does
owners or
help.
expireds, or the
only expired so far. So
Okay.
like, how'd you get my number? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, I understand you're getting a lot of calls. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just let me email you, or just let me send you something. You could research me. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me. I don't want to bug you. It was and then they will give me their email address.
Okay, let's do a quick role play where you're
Sure.
the expired and I'll be the agent. And then we'll see how it goes. So you could say whatever, try to
This is
throw me
awesome.
off. Okay, so ring ring.
Sure. Hello.
Hello, Steven.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hello,
Steven,
who's
this is
this?
Loida. Yeah, this is Loida. Look, really quick, I was calling about the property you had on Main Street. I wanted to see what your plans are for putting it back on the market and actually getting it sold.
Well, I'm getting a lot of calls. I don't know why, but my phone's been ringing off the hook. I really not thinking of selling anymore. So I don't know how you get my number, and I don't know how to get it off.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, the reason that you're getting so many calls this morning, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, is because unfortunately your home came off the market unsold and it's kind of raised a red flag. Did you know that was going to happen?
No, I didn't expect it, but it did, and it was a hard few months, and I want to move on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. So what happened?
I don't know. I hired an agent. He put it on, took good pictures, marketed it. It was just slow. We weren't really getting that much activity. I think the market's just really, really slow with interest rates right now.
Wow,
I'm
really?
thinking that's really what the issue is. Yeah.
Wow. Well, look, I'm glad that I'm giving you a call because the market has actually been moving and we've been seeing homes sell even, in record time still, even with high interest rates. I mean, there's still a lot of buyers out there. But let me ask you, if the home had sold, what were your plans or where did you want to head to next?
Well, me and my wife, we were retired and I wanted to go upstate where my family is, just get back over there,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's not a rush. I mean, they come visit me and if I don't get my bottom line, I'll just say stay put.
Yeah, of course. Now, did you guys want to be out there before the summer was over or what did your time frame look like?
It's not a big rush, but sure. I mean, if I could get there in the next 6 months, or if my house was sold, I was planning on going up there, but I could stay here for another 5 years too.
Yeah, of course. And that's great that you're not in a rush. But if it was still possible for you to be out there before Thanksgiving, that sounds like something that you would be excited about, right?
I mean, yeah, I love to be with my family. Sure.
Yeah. Well, look, Stephen, I don't want you to think that your home can't sell or that the market is bad or interest rates are were stopping buyers from buying. But at the end of the day, you know, if you knew for a fact that the home could be sold before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and all it would require would be a different approach, would you at
Yeah.
least be open to that conversation to see how we can make that happen?
Well, I mean, the realtor I had, it's a good realtor, you know, did what he said he was going to do. What would you do differently? How would you get my house sold?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you know, I'm sorry that you had that experience with that agent, but if we decide to work together, you would actually be sold and moved by November. So look, every
Wow.
agent is different.
Mhm.
We all have different approaches. The same way that I'm calling you, I talk to so many people every single day, connecting buyers with my sellers. Is that something that your last agent was doing? Active prospecting?
He said he was, but there was no way that I really was able to see if he was or not.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like the communication was also lacking there, right?
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because you
He
know
was real, he
something.
was on the ball in the beginning, then after a while it was hard to get, you know, he would
Oh
answer my
no.
calls once in a while, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, you know, something that I do with all of my clients, whether it's buyers or sellers, is that you will hear from me every single week, and I will let you know exactly how many people are reaching out that are interested in your property, how many people I'm actively cold calling and door knocking, not just myself and my team, to make sure that we're marketing your home. Because look, at the end of the day, we don't get paid until we deliver results. So essentially, I'd be working for free for you. So look, when would be a good time for us to get together? That way I can really go into detail as to what else I would do differently than your last agent. Today is Tuesday. I'm available Thursday, or would the weekend be better?
I mean, yeah, you know what, actually, I'd love to hear what you say. Let's do Thursday.
Okay, perfect. Thursday afternoon or evening?
I
And then I
work
just go from
till
there.
about 5. Yeah,
Okay.
let's do
Yeah.
it. That was good.
Okay.
And those are all like kind of objection handling scripts that you've gone over the time, and it's probably just natural, so natural to you, don't even have to think about it too much, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can
Depending on
we
what
have
you
more
say, I know
expireds like
different
Steven?
angles. What was that?
We need more expired sellers like Steven.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Naveed should have done the
But I
script.
think you get those conversations, you know, it's like you were saying, Lloyd, it's a numbers game. You're going to get people that are just click, click, click. And then eventually, if you get that conversation, try to lead it to that appointment, right? And that's where
yeah.
scripts come into play, to where you, I guess, ask the right questions, which
Mhm.
I'm not going to ask all the right questions. Obviously, you are more experienced at it, right? And that's what, when you get that person that's willing to talk, try to lead to that appointment, right?
Yeah, and then another thing too is also knowing the type of personality that you're talking to, because there's going to be the driver. If it's a driver, you got to be a driver. If it's an expressive and analytical, so you can, in like the first couple seconds, you can tell what type of personality you're speaking to, and that you quickly have to like adapt to that. Otherwise, they're not going to want to hear you, or they're going to click on you. So I don't know. We can do one more where Naveed could be like the most pissed off, expired if he wants. I don't know. Because I think he
Be
said right
nice,
now.
Naveed. Be nice.
Let's go, Naveed.
Yeah, we absolutely can.
Okay.
I'm the listing, or I'm the seller, right?
Yes, yes. So you're gonna be the expired. Mhm. Okay, so ring ring.
Hello,
Hello, Naveed.
this is Naveed. Who's this?
Hey, Naveed, this is Loida. Look, really quick, I was reaching out regarding that property you had in San Fernando. Just wanted to see, what are your plans for putting it back on the market and actually getting it sold?
You know what? You're probably the 10th agent that's called me about it today. Can you guys just take me off whatever list you're calling me from? I'm not interested in selling anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, I'm sure that I'm not going to be the only one, and you're probably going to get a bunch more calls. So I'll definitely take you off my list. But really quick, before I let you go, what were your plans if the home had sold?
Since nobody wants to buy it right now, I'm just going to hold on to it.
Oh, wow. What makes you think that nobody wants to buy?
Well, the previous agent had it listed for about 6 months and we had almost no activity.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
we're just going to hold on to it now.
Okay. Yeah. I see here 6 months, the pictures, I think there's only like 5 pictures. It sounds like you guys obviously did want to move at some point, right? So were you guys going to be relocating out of state, downsizing, upsizing, or what did that look like?
5 pictures. That agent was here for about 2 hours taking pictures with his iPhone.
Wow, with his iPhone. Okay, so crazy. So where were you guys going to be moving to?
Well, we wanted to move towards the Natomas area.
Okay. Okay, nice. Did you guys have a time frame by when you wanted to be out there?
Well, we had a plan to move there at the beginning of the year, but since the agent couldn't sell the home, we're just going to hold on to it right now until we see a shift in the market.
Okay, got it. Did you guys have family out there or something that was taking you there?
There's a new Costco coming in. We want to be closer to it.
Oh, okay, I see. I'm the same way. I love to go shopping at Costco, especially if it's a short trip home. But look, Naveed, I don't want you to think that your home can't sell or that the market's not good. I think at the end of the day, it might just require a different approach to actually get your property sold because, look, every agent is different. And the fact that you said that you were on the market 6 months and no activity is actually really shocking. Can I share why?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, even though interest rates have been high and the market has been shifting, I mean, there's still a lot of buyers out there on them that are currently looking for homes in the market. And the homes just like yours are selling. So all it really might take is just a different approach from a more aggressive agent. So look, I would love to share with you at least what we can do to get this property sold, because if you could be closer to Costco, in the next 30 to 60 days, that is something you would be excited about, right?
Yep, you got my attention now.
Okay, perfect. So look, when is it that you're usually available? Is it during the week or on the weekends?
During the week, evening times.
Okay, perfect. So today is Tuesday. How about tomorrow? Tomorrow around 6 o'clock, would that work for you?
That sounds good.
Okay, great. So I'm going to put you on my calendar for tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Now, really quick, before I let you go, I just need to get a little bit more information from you. That way I can do my homework so that once we get together, we're not wasting each other's time. So do you have like a couple more seconds?
Sure.
Okay. And then right now I will just pre-qualify. And yeah.
No, see, that was perfect. Even though I had an objection in the beginning, you started already picking up things of what you saw that was wrong with the previous listing.
Yeah.
And got my attention on that. And I think that's what I see a lot of times is poor listings. And I think they cut me off so fast. I'm like, okay, bye.
Yeah. And then if you guys notice, whenever he would say something, like I would address it, but I would immediately ask my question next, like, because you said, oh yeah, please, stop calling me and take my number off your list. Okay, cool. I'll take your number off my list, but really quick, where were you guys going to move to? And I'm already back in the conversation. I didn't give up. It's like, okay, I'll take you off my list. But
most of us would just be like, okay, sorry for wasting your time.
Yeah, because for me, I'm going to try and go as much as I can until they're like, F you, or like hang up on me. But he stayed on the phone. He answered all my questions. Even I'm like, okay, I really got him because he's still answering my questions. And even, I don't know, you said some other things where I said, oh, okay, cool. So, and then I went back to asking the next question. Yeah. So that's the key. Mm-hmm.
So Loida,
that was awesome.
I think you have a couple courses now, and then I know you also have, because we're at the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I know you have a couple things that's going on right now, and I'm sure all of these guys would like to know what it is.
Yeah, so I have a new agent bootcamp that's always running, newinrealestate.com. That's the website for that. And every Tuesday I do role playing with a Mike Ferry coach, and we open that up to everyone as well. So for that, you guys can just send me a DM on Instagram, or what I'll do, Rose, is that I'll send you the link, because we have a Facebook group. It's called, I think, Top Realtor Training. And we do role playing there every Tuesday morning. And he does also role playing for everyone, pretty much every day as well. So those are great ways that you guys can get involved, hear me talk. I'm seeing the chat, you guys are talking about tonality. And yeah, the more that you guys role play and get comfortable, it's going to be easier to shift someone's like attitude from being super pissed and like aggressive to be like, okay, cool. Thank you so much, Loida, for giving me a call. See you tomorrow.
Nice. What time is your Tuesday scripting call?
It's at 7:15 Pacific.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
And then don't you have like a Facebook group as well for like women in real estate?
Yes, it's called Empowered Women. So there's a link in my Instagram, or if not, you can just go on the search bar, Empowered Women with Loida Velasquez, and it'll pop up there.
All right, you guys, any more questions for Loida?
That was amazing, Loida. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Loida.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. It was helpful.
Thank you.
Good. I'm glad.
Loida, you're a rock star. Thank you so much for giving back to the community and not asking for anything in return. That's the environment we want to be around. We want to be around people that are willing to share their secrets and grow together and just give back, right? Because the secrets of living is giving. So thank you so much. You provided so much value to each and every one of us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. And if you guys ever want to do just a role play session, will you guys count me in?
Yes.
I'll be back.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Loida.
Yes.
All right, guys.
right.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.